Okay, Dave, agus Falchirov, Konstashif, welcome, and how are you? We're going to do a presentation on Strand 2, and what it's about is it's about poverty, yeah? So, right, we'll move on to the first slide then. Let me just click current slide so we get it a bit larger. Okay, so what's poverty? So poverty is a word used to describe people in society who cannot afford the essentials that are needed for a basic standard of living. Some people in Ireland and most parts of the world live in poverty. Yeah, there's huge parts of the world in poverty. There's loads of underdeveloped countries in the world. We're lucky in that we have one of the richest and wealthiest countries in the world. Might not seem it because of the size of our bills and expenses, but in terms of the wealth in the country, we definitely do have a lot of wealth. Okay, so maybe not spread out equally or fairly enough. Yeah. Okay, so the world, you've got the rich north and the poor south, yeah, not including Australia and New Zealand, because they're considered part of the Western world. So if you follow that line around there, all the green stuff there, Canada, USA, Ireland, Britain, Scandinavian countries, Russia, are considered developed, and maybe some are a little bit arguable, but yeah. The development divide between the north and south divide is based on the Brandt line. That's what's called. So basic understanding of global poverty and development divide was divided by Willy Brandt in 1980, as shown in the map below. Okay, so see Antarctica down there as well. Is like on the poor side of the divide. Yeah, okay, moving on, interesting. So the HDI, that's the Human Development Index. So how developed is a country in terms of how modern, how developed, how good is education, how good is the infrastructure, how good are things working, like companies and people and organizations. So Ireland is seen as being the 6th or 7th best, or tied 6th, looks like there. Okay, rank in the world, which is great. And on the bottom, the worst countries in the world, worst performers for being developed. So in other words, they're very underdeveloped. The worst would be Niger on this list, and the Central African Republic is another one. Chad, Eritrea, Burundi. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So the richest and the poorest. So the Scandinavians, as you can see here, are seen as the richest. I know Switzerland holds a lot of bank deposits and gold, so they'd definitely be up there in the top division, all right. Germany as well. United States might have dropped a bit now that their COVID has gone rampant. China, I'd say, is moving up that list as of more recently, because they got COVID under control. And as you know, if COVID is out of control, it really affects economy in a bad way. So the countries that manage to get it under control, their economies are going to prosper a lot quicker than the others. Okay, so poverty today in Ireland, case study. Over 1,000 homeless families, that's over about 2,500 children, live in hotels or bed and breakfasts or on the streets themselves. Karen's story though. So Karen lives in a hotel room with her 2 sons, aged 6 and 10. There are 2 beds, 1 single and 1 double. There's a small fridge in the corner and a kettle and a toaster on the floor beside it. There's nowhere to cook dinner and only a petrol station and takeaway within walking distance. Breakfast in the hotel is too much hassle, with too many questions from other guests, such as, why do you live here? Okay, so in Ireland, you know, our standards are so high that, you know, volunteer organizations, etc., can help afford to put people in half decent care. Now, if you're in Africa, looking at homelessness, you'd be looking at a very different story indeed. No healthcare, no support, very little supports, very little social welfare, which means money and grants from the government to help you when you don't have a job. All those things we take for granted in the Western world aren't necessarily the case in underdeveloped and developing countries. So the poverty cycle, people who are poor often get caught in a poverty trap or a poverty cycle, which is very difficult to get out of. So what can the Irish government do to help? Well, they can give money and grants, and they can set up organisations to help, and it can bring down the cost of living. So what can organisations do to help? Well, they can set up, volunteers can set up their own organisations, charity organisations, non-government organisations can all help develop a country so that it looks after its poorest and helps them not be as poor as they were. So here's the poverty trap. So number one, overcrowded housing, poor diet and healthcare. Number two, children have low energy and poor concentration. And number three, they don't do well in their exams in school, and then maybe their careers don't do as well, arguably. And then feelings of failure, frustration, anger, and hopelessness in poor families. Sometimes families break down. Sometimes these families have low self-esteem. Again, it's arguable, I suppose, from the point of view that money doesn't always buy you happiness, but I mean, having your bills paid is very important. Having freedom from bills is very important for your self-esteem and you know, to be able to live life normally. So limited job opportunities for people who are poor and uneducated, low salary dependent on social welfare, so they have to depend on social welfare, which is a lot less than a lot of people's salaries. It's not a lot of money if you want to buy a house and pay mortgages and all that sort of stuff. Cannot afford to rent or buy a home. Okay, so that's the kind of trap you can get into when you're in the poverty, uneducated trap. So it all comes back to basic needs and human rights. How do each of these help to overcome poverty? Well, when you give people their basic needs, such as food, water, shelter, makes them feel good, gives them human dignity, and then that'll lead on to helping them concentrate better, maybe help them leave money for education and time for education. Technology then can help overcome poverty because you can almost teach yourself using the internet nowadays. There's so many tutorials now and documents. It's a real education. So technology is great. Look at us using it now for teaching and learning as well. So okay, jobs then. So obviously, if you give someone a job, that'll really help them overcome their poverty because they'll have a job, be able to pay for stuff and pay their bills, and plus they'll have good self-esteem and feel that they're contributing to the country and to Ireland, etc. Okay, so that's that. That's slide one again. So thanks for your attention. Hope you learned something there. Yeah, stay safe. And I'll be in touch. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in comments or private messages through Schoology. It's probably the easiest way for me to organize questions and respond to them. So yeah, please do if you're confused with anything. And in terms of assessment, we will have an online test that will be set as a key assignment, and I'll be giving you a due date in due course. Okay, bye-bye. See you soon, hopefully.